We are live. Hello, everyone. I am Richard Millett, and this is Quarantine Stream. And this is the 15th one, I think. And there's the possibility that it could have been the last one. But looks like that is not going to be the case. So anyway, let us have the Quarantine Stream theme, shall we? Beautiful. All right. Hope you're all doing okay out there. Hope you're all staying safe and smart. Called Would You Sell the Relics? The general that only cares about tomorrow also expects everyone to echo the same expression, and when the general can no longer see the power of their influence, they try and exert control over any small circumstance under their control. While the brigadier general worries to no one if they need a transfusion. The colonel, who's concerned that not enough people's fingerprints matches theirs, requires a warning on the front page of each report, along with a summary cut together by a subordinate, in a matter of minutes, so they don't have to waste any energy generating contradictory thoughts. While the captain enters their coordinates so their location is known and updated every moment, which leaves the captain free to make discoveries like the wheel or gravity, then sell their findings to the executives or campaign staff of their choice, urged by a strong sense of benevolence, a tribute to charity as a force. And the first lieutenant's unmatched love of history is proven by the pictures taken of their parents with Goebbels in Brazil in the 70s. And the second lieutenant's jealousy shows and grouses to one, "That's not Goebbels, it's clear it's Martin Bormann." The sergeant major that reset the standards of esprit de corps doesn't know the panic they'll feel in a few short years when they are urged out of the way, or that they'll become stiff with resentment and resolute in their calls for punishment, and institute measures to monitor how the company behaves. While the staff sergeant writes on a photo of themselves, "The future belongs to you," and daydreams about collecting the remaining virginities from the sorority house down the road. And they already have the names, ages, and weights in a frequently updated database. Then the staff sergeant complains about commercials before content. The chief warrant officer, who breaks ranks to research the order the alphabet was created in, gets rueful about seeing themselves age and attending charity events, funerals, and hospital visits, seeing their face in the mirror more washed out than before, wondering as they write their commencement address who will even be paying attention in the audience. Drinking from puddles, seeing what the sky says, not being able to read handwriting. As children, they received a puzzle in the mail. And to the private, it is all an eye roll. It all so boring and shallow to see another round of legacies shut out by an offhand remark. The private doesn't ask any of the officers where they should start. What's the matter where rebellion is kitsch and trauma is Walmart? The specialist greets the private. They each think the other is a dilettante. And later, the specialist considers, what's the matter where you have 1,000 followers and not a dozen supporters? Would you sell the relics? It's called I'm Dancing with the Skeleton. I'm dancing with the skeleton key pinned under my belt the night after I'd had two simultaneous dreams in ocular split screen, one where a white-tailed fawn galloped to the front door and another where my brother couldn't sleep. I'm dancing with the skeleton key tied on a twine cord around my neck, remembering when my sister was locked in a minivan and stranded in a parking lot outside of Austin. She kissed the windows and ate the tape in the cassette deck. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in my unopened mouth, tucked behind my wisdom teeth and obscured by my tongue. I have memories that my sister still won't believe, and I miss the 20th century. It could have been so much better. I'm dancing with the skeleton key scotch taped to my arm. When I was in school, the vice principal gave himself a heart condition, trying to figure out who had stolen from the convenience store, and then boasted about it on the blackboard. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in the grotto of a dilapidated Catholic church, where the priest once confessed to me that after each funeral he performed, the only way he could raise his spirits was by making uneasy music with the organist. I'm dancing with the skeleton key concealed in an alley while bells chime at midnight near the railroad and kids with no curfew dodge between dashing headlights on their way to play hide-and-seek in the park. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, laid on the floor of a garage, while my brother draws out diagrams on poster boards, connecting lines from consequences of thoughts to isolated islands of thinking, divided by unintended regression of actions. I'm dancing with the skeleton key while I'm safe at home, looking at sealed bags of clothes that I stopped wearing years ago, while I was running for mayor on an unconfirmed platform of leaking information about the governor. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in an adjacent office because the evidence my brother uncovered just got delivered to the lawyer, and he predicts it will make the judge jump and remove any condemnation from his mouth. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in a strip mall that used to be a swimming pool, and before that a man-made hill that covered demilitarized waste trucked over from a Floridian base, and it will still take 100,000 years before any of it reaches its half-life. I'm dancing with the skeleton key clasped tightly in my hand as I watch my sister in the mirror speak sentences with one word and plant orchids next to power lines in the backyard. Then she dots the driveway with empty jars to accurately measure the rainfall. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in my pocket, moving loosely with me. My brother used to cry bitterly to our parents every time he got a ticket, refuting each offense, denying that he did any of it. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, sliding uncomfortably in my shoe, but the nuisance helps give me the presence of mind to always hold up what I was taught, that when the rent is due, it's better to be full and well slept than to hand over a blank check. I'm dancing with the skeleton key pressed into a book, watching leaves in the wind and a novelist at a press conference, performing fake sign language, hoping it will get him the attention he wants for trying to revive the printed word. This is, excuse me. It's called Sacrifice the Satellite. Moments before dawn, phone ringing, unable to suss if it was happening from impressions born in shallow sleep while lights flicked on in neighbors' windows. Or as the drift seized me back in, we were gun runners trapped in a house, detained by police, threatened by rivals, but I was able to slither out a side door and snuck away to a cafe, where I was supposed to summon assistance, but decided instead, the hell with them. I was called to a room. The walls of the hallway were blue, and when I entered, there they sat, looking exactly as they did in 1984. When one spoke, there was no sound from their mouths, but the words synced loudly in my skull. Crushed flowers float downstream in the rainwater, and handmade smokestack strips steam on half-awake blades of grass. New nuns count the gray hairs of their predecessors as they scan old photographs. Will they question who's alive in heaven? Are their words papering a mountain? They will have a moment where they behold the beauty of an empty screen or unplowed snow-covered street. Lost in a world between are the souls who only dream when looking up. Thick, shimmering splotches of gray grease liquefy and start to drip down rust-colored walls of skins, watched by a babe with a flashbulb embedded in their wrist, who sits on gouged black and gold tiles in the center of a disused ballroom dance floor among carelessly flung piles of metal-pronged monitors, cords, discs, spilled coffee grounds, broken vodka bottles, and asymmetrical platinum wigs. Every year there's a whisper the inventory will get a clean transfer. Winston Dubois knew the recovered money was wrapped in a mosquito net and secured in the back of a carriage. The horse stopped in front of an Air Force base, which got inadvertently captured on videotape, with the footage dissected by theorists for decades. Desmond Hampton learned Tony Chamberlain had double-crossed him as he drank milk and clapped erasers together outside his classroom. His signature had been forged and hidden throughout the system. The younger best brother thinks, if only I were a CEO buying companies whose names I don't know and could leverage my credibility to simultaneously flaunt my status and champion myself as an obscurity. The older best brother thinks, if only I were an oligarch and had a tapestry of machinery to do what I want, live in seclusion, invest in rare art, and pay for a hooker who looks like my daughter. Lost in a world between are the souls who only dream when looking up. The beams of starshine light land everywhere and leave valley-wide fingerprints for 7 years. Minute glass tubes can shiver without bursting squid ink or glistening diamonds laid out on linen, spirals scrawled on maps with the location leading inside a puzzle box, while fungus slides up to a microscope and mixes with vinegar and bleach. Circles of sapphires line the linoleum tile with a surface so improbably clear it mimics a screen. Lost in a world between are the souls who only dream when looking up. We're gonna try something that might not work. We'll see what happens. I've not read this piece before. It's gonna be a little distended, but that's okay. This is called White Van. White Van, I don't want to see you following me. Please, let's agree we don't owe each other anything, and allow one to dissolve into the fog this evening. White Van, I know that I'm not supposed to, but I looked at the driver through the glass. I couldn't identify him, but I noticed he didn't return the glance. White Van, the next day I saw it driving away, getting more distant in the rear view, only for one to rematerialize next to me. One in the oncoming turn lane and one pulled off, with the hazard lights blinking. I kept wondering, how is this possible? How is this happening? Pearl gray day, black old Cadillac. Hadn't seen one like that since 1993, and even then it was an anomaly. Back bumper red, don't tread on me. Black old Cadillac. Shelley read the sticker and laughed incredulously. Is that really what you have to say? Sue said, I suppose it depends on the context. Shelley shot back. I think we can easily assume what they meant by that. Sue flatly asked, can we? As the black Cadillac ambled along, Shelley turned her attention to the jagged piles of cement, abandoned in the wake of construction, the rusted silos stubbornly pinned to the horizon. She turned to Sue and said, sometimes I guess you have to consider your own protection. Then looked at the weeks of car exhaust clinging to the clumps of snow, the vestiges of old money, streets bleached with salt, early morning on a pearl gray day. White Van, I pointed one out to her, and then she started noticing them too. Seemed like logic had stopped working. We uneasily joked that we should wake each other from our dreams. Or, I said under my breath, is this the part of the new reality? White Van, I asked the priest, if I paid my penance, then why don't I have any peace? He explained that it's not just the devil that can assume other forms. White Van, 1 year to the day. I saw the same make and model in the exact same place. The front wheel wobble, the dent I must have left. The same silver ladder barely bolted to the back. I got frantic, turned carefully, slowed down, let it pass. It's called Canary Milk. Sweltering sun in the forecast, but it's raining right now. Retired teens nostalgic for holograms as their granddads watch rocks roll on the ground and wonder when they can be farmers in glass pods on Mars. While Amanda eats factory fresh candies and laughs jaggedly at vulgar stories. The boy who awoke in the toy aisle one evening moved more elegantly than his mother had ever seen as he picked items off a worn, well-folded list before deciding he'd rather have a pet eel instead, while Amanda watches her neighbors bickering and daydreams deleted scenes from their past. The delivery man is ready for the weekend as he ignores reports on the European heat wave, instead marveling about the new house on his route and how much it must cost each month to keep the swans fed and the water in the lagoon fresh, while Amanda feels no urgency to call back her agency and laughs at people voluntarily photographing their chores. Called Fawn. Now more than Two brothers named Canary were said to have stolen from the community chest. They didn't have the decency to steal from the wealthy, take what they need, and give away the rest. But the law couldn't be trusted unless were never called, so the Canaries were chastised and marched to the town walls. The locals hoped word would travel down the wire and that they'd be denied food, lodgings, and water wherever they retired. But quickly enough, the Canaries were forgotten and continued to ride along freely without judgment or punishment, and if they committed any further acts of thievery, it was never noted publicly. Griffith, resplendent in a natty navy suit, steals Jessica's champagne in a wrong-headed attempt to give it back later as a gift, thinking she'll appreciate it more. Jessica, powerful yet delicate, in a mellow peppermint pencil dress, rubs the bristle of Griffith's temples into his sweat and wonders how many texts he'll have to hide from her next. Griffith says he can break skin without bleeding. He dyes water blue before he drinks. He memorizes reviews, then skips to the end of the books he reads. Jessica can get arrested and go straight home and spend the rest of her week yelling at strangers on the street and snapping reaction shots at the back of their heads. Griffith, as flummoxed as he's photographed exiting his favorite bar in the early morning, his mother's birthday on his mind and a cigarette tucked behind his ear. Jessica is photographed ironically flashing a peace sign on the beach, her mother's week-long visit thankfully now over. Griffith explains to his extended family the nature of his many public feuds, and why they will persist, and bats away a leading question by their lawyer, disregarding being disproven by facts, feeling justified in thinking that the best way to reconcile a discrepancy is to attack, or, as might have been dreamt in a different way, they made fun of the family name, insulted the family name. Jessica explains to the management at her company that discounting what could be considered her offensive language, the inherent truth of her statement still stood, though she was struck speechless when asked if she thought only her supporters would be aware of her content. According to her informants, a known opponent, unaware she was being recorded, made a remark, the weight of which contradicted her previously stated stance. Pablo floats in the ectoplasm, awash in the oils marked for his self-portrait, the prize fish. Fawn's teeth snap on water when her magnetic cold alertness goes unrewarded. Satsuki states her ideas for posterity. The problem that I see is they assume everyone who agrees with them about one thing agrees with them about everything. The problem that I see is that it's another version of corporate thinking, another way of being right-wing. The problem that I see is that they assume I'll be a standard bearer. The problem that I see is that they are only willing to write words in chalk. The problem I see is that they limit me to things I had no control over. The problem that I see is that their personal truth has no dialogue with honesty. Satsuki states ideas she would likely delete. I'll never be able to stop forcing emotions from myself. I'll never be able to be an eggshell. I'll never be able to be a pierced genital. I'll never be able to convince people. I saunter past the bar in the JPEGs of 2003 like it means anything. I step over the bar and resurfaced insisting that sounds like a rhinestone. I ignore the bar and the people whose minds comprise the seventh circle. I shake my head at the bar, hoping to get money from acquaintances for friendship services. Satsuki notes things she's overheard. I try and fail, and cannot help but hate the people who stay past closing and get distracted where there's a webcam on the wall. Hope no one you saw picking pepper out of your teeth. While thinking, oh, it's all like modern art. This is being seen somewhere, and I'm the subject in this moment, this ultimate moment. Take a drink. The gaze. Take a drink. It's empowering. I wonder if I know them. Old movies to me are like Dream a Little Dream. I wouldn't watch anything older because I'd be bored, and I wouldn't know what they were even talking about. How y'all doing out there? It's called Water Oracle. I'm ready for unfolding trains to chip away my splintered pins, waiting for the train's arch, sticky impulses and the pleasures of humidity, preparing to dance with a china doll face and blue-faded ignorance, squelching archaic, lice-like, traditional, hidden dominations. I'm ready for an illustrious glass night with cotton candy laughter, not expecting anything and completely aware of every encrusted idea. I accept the contradictions and the willingness to end, where restless ruminations of sight won't find me cracking my hands. I want to relapse memories of spontaneity with bicycle womb wheels and blood blisters. She might be cunning, unshaved at any time, to real flow what won't be said to abolish illusions from exile frenzy, sleeping and dangling on terry cloth mattresses, and waking rank porcelain into the morning. It's called Yes. The soundscapes fly from dusk, sterility restricted to their thoughts, bleak as the day they were born. The concrete is in a state of flux, and the forest lies under a soiled blanket of lucid dreams. Pale-faced disintegration in the awestruck, penniless geometric cluster and its meaningless tradition. For some quiet, they drink shattered glass. For some peace, they'd murder a stillborn baby. Savages behind closed doors, but who commits treason and defines what's pure? With the precise rhythms and headache medicine, memories seep through like blood under a fingernail. We never know when it's finished. The wave just rides. Preface to Manifest Slavery. Entire chapters to write. Planets of aliens to conceive. We never know when it's finished. The wave just rides. It's called Corsage. I've been waiting. It's been too long. But now you're here and I don't want to waste any more time. An invitation, a collage reality, gilded curtains, blue carpets, singed rose thorn blood. Apples and lasagna swathed over your stomach. Sometimes I miss you. Sometimes you hate me. Boiling and dark, searing in rhinestones. X-ray angel melting crucifixes, smiling faces. It's so easy to forget everyone. It's so easy to adore you. Called Two Franciscan Nuns. Chewing mint leaves while crossing the Calumet River, the paper mill's exhaust pipes interrupt the vista. Mules weighted with surge protectors, hairspray, and cassettes, a riverboat of morphine-addicted ghosts over there on the left. Two Franciscan nuns wanted to build a hospital, but settled for organizing games of chance. In their hotel rooms, they squeeze out extra acidic orange juice and excommunicate people with unpleasant names from the phone book. Two Franciscan nuns helped decorate an admiral in the pensioner's home after he'd misplaced his uniform. They blessed his pills, kissed his parakeet, and as he slept, gathered sets of his false teeth to sell at the swap meet. A brain with blood and oxygen is better than a fish who talks. What some people see as skin discoloration is in fact the natural pigmentation when viewed from inside. Some newspapermen have always known this, and have nothing to hide. All right, this is called Painter. He walked all day to the UK, found some money on the floor, and was on his way. He knew the book was blasted, so he saw through the murk. A little sinister, a lot of charming, made him do his work. Well, the painter couldn't stop painting over the image he'd made. It had been perfect before, but now it's just on display. He broke a chair and started to shout, "You have no idea what my art is all about." Now he knows all the presidents, can say them all in a row, and in India he walked real slow. Some mountains, some architects and trees. He fell on his knees and got a picture in his mind. But he forgot his sketchbook and left it all behind. So now he dates a lady with rubies in her ear. The papers say he's idle, but that's not what she hears. There's no more brushes or messy oils on the floor. He's a sculptor now, and he gives his spare marble to her. So that's the story of the painter who ate hamburgers in bed, went to make the scene and forgot where he put the thread. So we are going to do the, actually, no, we're going to do that in a minute. All right. It's called Dirty Hands. I'm not going to write about love anymore. I'm not even going to think about the third person. Withdrawn and forlorn, trying in vain to force a conclusion, slapped on the head over and over again. Decayed, spine snapped, and the bloodlust and afterbirth mechanically milked. Fix your bones stripped bare. I am not going to write about love anymore. I'm going to keep my hope down where I can see it. Fix your broken glass, stripped bare. It's called Settle. I went to the party, and the host asked where my invitation was. I had no thoughts as I looked at the lapels of his white tux. He looked down at me and said, "Richard, it's up to you to decide if you want to get inside." Without a pause, I said, "Of course I want that." And in the center of the circular driveway, the butler and stable boy, both ungroomed, face each other with unbroken smiles and unblinking eyes, each studying the other, not daring to break the social contract, both hoping their requests are filled. On the spiral staircase, two cousins sitting dressed up as girls, pretending to be sisters holding a seance only they can see, trying to conjure Milton or Wells out of eternity, writing telepathic lists of possible offerings. In the family crypt, two tabby cats sink their claws into a scrap of silk carried down from the master bedroom. When they've grown bored, they leave the stray threads and torn shreds to blow away. At the bar, the maid and courier fleetingly forget their responsibilities. Her spiraling locks, the gentle powder of her perfume, make the courier stop what he's whispering in mid-sentence and move closer. The two feeling each other breathing and listening to Sugar Blues beam in from the bandstand. At the service entrance, the plumber and the chef only briefly met, one asking the other to borrow a pen. Then the plumber went to clear the water, and the chef finished the notes for the meal plan. We sat on the cold stone in the rippling dusk, and I pointed to a building across the street that we'd walked past before, and I said, "I used to think that everything we built would be demolished if we split, but now I'm certain that's not true. It's been built, and that exists forever. It's just... now it's a museum instead of a home." She didn't say anything, but I could tell she agreed. It's called Lust. Lust is not naive, and lust is not evil. Lust is not a choice. Lust is the complete circle. Lust is an explosion of instinct, extracted from the will, from guilt, from good intention, from torment, and even pleasure. And then lust goes dormant and slowly creeps back in through your veins and into your brain and into your heart, because lust does not come in a phallic conclusion. It is an ever-present, quietly dominant, recurring pattern of nature, a pattern as real as the menstrual cycle, which stains starch linens with corrugated cells, placenta, and rusted blood. Lust is not a climax or a finish. It is not a construct to be victorious over and defeated, because love is a demographic in modern defined terms. Love is behavior that is learned in church and is chaste and devout and obedient. Lust is liquid pumping through your soul that can't be confined and contained. Lust is the dimension of pagan exaltation we try to repress and refine. Lust is what I turn towards to sustain me and compete with my sanity. Lust is the red blood cell of reality when you are ignored by love. Called White Cello. Take the white envelope next to your right hand. Give it to me. Here, lick the seal. Thank you. All right. Talk to me. I'm in the open window and I'm not in time, but I've got your watch and I need to learn to play this white cello. Scratch the surface. I'm on the shore with a can of sugar. It's never bitter. I'd really rather be playing, though. I like the white strings and the white bow. That's not her. That's her. Was the simplest thing you said today. I'm still and still reeling with no moments except now. You don't possess any microscope, so I will take the telescope. I'm trying to be angelic, which isn't easy after getting desensitized with disappointments every night, eating fresh vegetables, but planning, and you already know, and then you talk me out of it. You don't have a pistol in your waistcoat. Your teeth aren't flecked with flax seeds. My misjudgments are my own, and most are unknown. And just because I'm a pacifist doesn't mean anyone can abuse me. And speaking of myself, notice me. I'm standing next to the tree where the guy crashed the stolen car, then got out and ran for it. But I can behave for over 100 days, and I've squandered my efforts and so much goodwill that sometimes I still need to convince myself that I should try to take lessons to play at all. But I'm sure you want me to, and I know what I can do. And with that, we're not missing anything. We're humming songs through the phone. We're midnight movers. We're a holy rollers without religion. No, we're not. And don't be the guy on the bike in the right lane racing for his life against rush hour traffic in the morning. I know you are, and you know that I care, and I feel like I'm Clark Kent dressed in primary colors, and I just haven't taken off my glasses yet. She said, as long as it's not evil, and I cannot be evil, at least not right now. But it's the rising sun, it's the hard-boiled egg, it's basil, it's a blue charm. I just want to play the white cello. I just want to sit in a circle and think about it some more. So are we going to wrap this up, or are we just going to keep testing people's patience? No, I'm thinking out loud. It's warm communication. You see what I'm talking about, so I'm going to change some channels. Quarters, nickels, and all sunbathers must be wearing a blue suit. It'll be like a reverse safari where they put lions, cheetahs, and tigers in a truck and drive them around to show people shopping and walking down the street or pumping gas. It'll be the apex of manifestation. Ain't that right, Van? Or it'll be the suburban safari where some guy named Greg gives you a little pith helmet and plastic binoculars, and you can wait under his kitchen table for the cat to use the litter box. Why does it gotta be white? Never heard from before. Advertising space available. Clean, clear water. And, of course, the tastiest tomatoes. How are we doing out there? Oh, hey. Wonderful. This is a good one. I got away alive and sane. And I did. I've been living like the whole FBI died in a Kool-Aid mistake. I've been keeping a time bomb in my shoes so I know that my watch is correct. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I've been up all night burning my bridges, making jokes about ex-friends' fetishes. I won't tell you to hold on or say you don't deserve what you get. You won't ever see me take the first step. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I got a floorboard in the garage. I've been overstimulated. I've been sore. I got away alive and sane. I didn't get strangled or stained. I got away alive and sane. And I did. Truly. Oh, Jesus. Y'all can't hear that, but, oh, poor thing. The cat is upset. This is, called May. Get it together. Get it yourself. The feelings you had linger for months. Under the ground, garden life albatross. She bleeds all over me. I say ball and chain in simple words. Idealization, affiliation, detoxification, menstruation. Dirt in the coffin, she's bleeding on the flower stems. Up in the air, salivating tissue. Under the ground, dirt on the nails, bleeding again. Extend a hand in loving help, but maybe you should just kill yourself. It's about no one in particular. She likes to hunt me down. She likes to cut my hand. She likes to shave my tongue. She calls me a slut and calls it a night. This is an interesting one. I'll explain the title because I don't think that I ever have. This is an obscure one. Uh, when Mike Tyson got out of jail, his first fight was against some dumbass tomato can named Peter McNeely, I think, and it was just an embarrassment. I mean, the whole fight was the marketing of it, all of it was such a weird debacle, and then the fight itself was a debacle, and I think was called off in like a minute or something because Peter McNeely's was it Peter McNeely? His trainer jumped into the ring, and the fight was just then called off. It was the whole thing was so stupid. Um, and it's really easy to have, especially back then too. One had very conflicted feelings about Mike Tyson, and you could draw as many things that you wanted to commend as criticize, and so he was polarizing, not just culturally, but he was polarizing within your own mind. Um, and Spy Magazine, for anyone who remembers Spy Magazine, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favorite magazines. And truly one of the few things I really do miss about the '90s. Spy Magazine did an article about this appalling event and how cynical it was in terms of its marketing, and then the non-event of the fight was just kind of the perfect, you know, trombone burst. Wah, wah. So anyway, their article was really spectacularly tasteless. It was called "The Rapist versus the Pussy," which always made me laugh. It was just it was tasteless, and I fucking never said I was tasteful. So anyway, I decided to nick it. So this is called "The Rapist versus dot dot dot." So I've definitely never read this one before. So yield now, get ravaged by every single second. Xerox the difference, staying too late learning how to apply. Keep the structure, never release it, never tight. Don't think, apologize. Can you back it, or is it a riverbed of facts? Self-reference and pontificate. Car wrapped around the tree. It's so funny that y'all can't hear that. The cat is very upset. It's called Tongue in Cheek. It's from 1992. I sit alone in my log cabin waiting. Don't you love the countryside? The dog that never ticks and the clock that never barks. The book I read was boring and my feet hurt. Out of obligation, I decided to put the broom away. This is easy, and so are you. I could be a god all dressed up in a leather tuxedo. I'm surrounded by menthol idiots. Word of mouth, dictation from the heavens. This is one possible ending, and then we will have Passing for White. The morning started with the Lord Mayor looking through my garbage, then running down an alleyway, guardsmen lining the fire escapes. I was at the airport selling luggage and pleasantries. A 20-year-old let me finish his breakfast in exchange for a letter from his university. With so many people watching slow-motion explosions, I've started turning my sights toward unfiltered colors and unretouched images. The unwalked world where cures for disease sleep unnoticed in Brazilian trees is a word problem I can't solve. While so many people are watching slow-motion explosions, I've started adjusting to diagrams, drafting tools, and handmade copper crowns. There are already enough code breakers for the next Cold War, more feathered hats and white suits in the lobbies of the finest luxury hotels that Europe has to offer, more handcrafted sports cars to speed along the smoothest roads man has ever known. More than enough gold to flake into steaming broth with sumptuously verdant acres of Passing for White. Color crime! You used it before, pointing to signs, pointing to the closest church. He stayed up all night to see himself dancing on television. The church is closed to be reopened by the mayor's cousin in construction, the glistening grocery store with the tavern with daily fashion shows. He set up a conference call and he's trustworthy because he looks like me. Big white belly like a fish! The hotel with large chunks of missing bricks. The police station next to the building that has a sign that says, a law firm. The truck enforcement officer standing in the oncoming lane with his arms outstretched in ecstasy, overseen by a smiling baby who's somehow able to say, I could smile 12 weeks from conception. I show my hand. I know. I always show my hand. Meanwhile, it's 7:05 a.m. 2 cars, 3 spaces apart in the White Castle parking lot. One each gets out. On the left, he's wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. On the cowboy hat on the right, and a charcoal gray business suit. They walk in a V-shape, meet at the door with a handshake. They heat a conversation from the corner's mouth, start to bubble and rum. As she's walking down the sidewalk, her skin-tight clothes somehow hang off her, and she's watched by a man in a tracksuit holding a cell phone to his ear in silence 20 feet away. The party crew pulls a U-turn. As she's wobbling down the street, Lance Romance throws 20s at the guys, waving away fruit flies, then shows his people why this is the finest fire extinguisher you'll ever find. The party crew spots the car wash, and they get in line. They watch the jets bubble and foam, pretend they're superheroes with unlimited powers to make bubbles and foam. Theranos Industries is deploying a prick-approved ecosystem, agreeing on a settlement with widespread future technology. She said accusingly and secretively, retiring her bloodlust company. Watch it bubble. Frozen in place, the beer cans, the hair extensions, pubic hair, bondage wear, eagle eyes, white fumes, flying fingers, tops and bottoms, middling kingdom, gamblers of choice. I'm in a flood zone. Watch the bubble and foam, where form follows steam, where bourbon follows cream, bubble and foam over the safety warning. The crew delights, set one sweat glands reeling, with a shark tooth covered in pudding. The owner urges everyone to look out the window at the condo, tow truck, victim, uniform, camera, newspaper, bank, park, yard, new restaurant, as if he's got some psychic powers. He was taught the meaning, versatility, respect for the law, trust for fistfights, and an arid humor that snorts debris when under the advisement of enforced idleness. The enforced idleness, by the way, here's one, is, I always love that. It's Howard Cosell's term for when they didn't, they banned Muhammad Ali from boxing. I thought it was such a great term for such a grotesque act of cowardice, Like, can you imagine that? I mean, there's not even anything comparable now, and Colin Kaepernick's not really the same kind of thing, because there wasn't conscription involved, and it's not the sort of the legal, Ali went to the Supreme Court, It's, Kaepernick is sort of the same, is related, but the stakes aren't the same. And Kaepernick isn't necessarily the best in the world either, Muhammad Ali is the best, truly, the greatest, truly. In every fucking possible way, the greatest. The measure of the man, in and out of the ring. A true hero, a true American character. In 100 years from now, they won't even believe that Muhammad Ali was real. They'll think he's like Paul Bunyan or something, They won't. It would be inconceivable to someone that this was an actual person who really lived. But anyway, Muhammad Ali is, if you can't read between the lines, the very obvious. He's a big fucking deal in my world. Anyway, but I always loved Cosell's the 3.5 years of enforced idleness, and he would always say it like that because Cosell was one of the only people who was furious at the treatment that he got, and I've always loved that phrase. So it was a matter of time before I worked it in somewhere. Enforced idleness, beautiful. Howard Cosell might not have had all the answers, but he certainly asked a lot of the right questions. And gave someone like Ali a context to be understood. Otherwise, people just would have been completely, I think, a big part of the population would have just been completely baffled by him. You know? But all you had to do was just let him talk. And it became obvious. It's called 1 + 1. Already cleared toward the light, already prepared for existence in time. 7 times belonging to a cosmic happening, 7 times occurring for what's already there. It's a pin-step balance already in place, without having to chant or petition for deliverance. Already inside of your mind is what's real, already away from a one-note idol, already tested under the subconscious. Everything you know will eventually be revealed. Here's one I haven't done in a very long time. This will be interesting. It's called, I will explain the title. It's interesting that I only ever do that, huh? This is called, of course, the Happy Cyclopentanoperhydrophenthrene Day of Heavenly Flowers. Cyclopentanoperhydrophenthrene is a carbon bond in protein, and I heard it in some class I was in college. I wrote this back in 96. And so I was a very young man, and I thought I would have that word in a poem, but it was impossible to have it in a poem and not just dominate everything. So instead I made it a title, or part of a title. Anyway, here we go. To remain as I am means to keep you at bay. You're constantly so addictive, like an unseasoned peach. You've got me set off like a phantom dial tone. But you never exactly said what it was you needed for your roving stranger or love child. You never quite specified. And I'm just out of the shower, and you still got me coughing up the hairs on my chest, baby. Thousand-leggers are still crawling up the sink, and the Chinese girl is still out of reach. And I'm there, drinking tea. You don't have to worry about keeping up appearances. I've seen it before, your dirty fingernails, your morning breath, your temptation that you're flinging in my night shift face. Yeah, the Cobra and shotgun feel good in my hands. They feel like long-lost best friends. I remember a time when I was just stuck in a line trying to buy popcorn for you, baby. And I want to think about everything that's going on, and you want me to be about me, but how can I be about me when you're ghostwriting my autobiography, honey? And I think that I am ready for winter in Siam. But how do you know that this is even about you in the first place, huh, honey? The squad triangle that you like to keep clean is suffocating that feeling that you gotta watch who's coughing near your back, or that they're going to take you away soon. Doesn't it make you want to cringe and reflex your childhood into the ravings of a clown, baby? Talking to me on a ledge, Easter time ashtrays that pinch my jawline, and you won't even take the time to remember what Joan Crawford did to baby Jane, do you, honey? And the airless R.A. voodoo boy tells me how to get me published, but he's still reading books that got me off in 7th grade. Do you understand now, baby? It's me that was wrong for not acting that strong. But if I acted strong, would you want me to turn into Ted Bundy? Now, would you really want that? Now, would you, honey? You just can't ride on my gypsy queen after you've broken all my guitar strings. But do you think that one doe-eyed glance will make me nostalgic for my mother, honey? Your tears rained on my sweater, and 2 years of Aprils don't make it too easy. But how easy can it be when you still take his phone calls and try to convince me of your fealty? And I thought of that, April, and wanted to relive its minefield days, but after all, would I or you want to be memorialized in a synthetic Avedon photo anyway, honey? Paying your rent is such a crawl, 'cause living in an ivory tower is so expensive and all, and the upkeep is hell when the landlord's away. Isn't it getting repetitious, honey? You say you want my painting that I did for you in mind. You say you want to know me all over again, but you still pretend that I'm what I'm not. And you've still got me locked up in your collage, and I don't want to be compared or considered, baby. You better cut out while you got time. You better visit me, 'cause now he's mine, and he's still uncircumcised and talking to me as if he's got something valid to say. But dirty linens leads to dirty hands. And why do I have to be telling you this in the first place, honey? And you're seducing me with your eyes, and my conscience is ready to subside. But you can't find a support group for single-person relationships, now can you, honey? I hesitate to say I'm a good person. I hesitate to say I care enough to stay. I hesitate to say there's something wrong with you. But neither of us ever cared passionately anyway. How we doing out there? Okay, we're hanging in there. Very good. It's called Neil and Bobby Sakatumi. I greet the puppies with a smile and attempt to comb my hair for a while. I idle my time on a red velour sofa. It's not mauve, it's not puce, it doesn't look anything like you. It's ugly, it's red, it's got plastic cushions. I spilled my apple juice on that sofa. Or is it a love seat? Or is it a futon? It might be a bidet for all I can see, but whatever the hell it is, I don't want to sleep on it or eat your chocolate cake anywhere near it. I don't even want to go in your house, because your dog humps my leg and your boyfriend picks my teeth and your dad chews my eyelash and there's not 1 inch of floor space clean enough to lick. You turned my water brown. Your senile granddad dresses like a clown, and he's got a big red nose that's not nearly as revolting as that sofa. So by the way, I'm not coming over tonight, so quit following me down the hall or hitting on me in the toilet stall. Because any house with that much Elvis on velvet won't find me on their front porch swing or the Norman Rockwell painting. But maybe I will drop by, dressed in armor and a satin hat with some flowers for the maid and cocktails for the cat that never got me in the sack, and a muzzle for that fucking dog. And I'll cut out your nose hair and put it on your pancakes and yell, "Supper is served," so the butler can take a night off and throw some darts at Granddad. And for dessert, I'll serve pigs in a blanket garnished with spaghetti Suzette with some lighter fluid and a lock of your ma's pubic hair to torch that fucking sofa to the ground, because it ain't Art Deco no matter how hard you try, and the vinyl siding may go up in flames, but it really ain't Little Pink Houses after all, now is it, Toots? It's called Cruelty-Free Heroin. I've explained this one 30 fucking times. So. Go back and watch the old versions of this. When the Guardian goes mad, the sun rains against the eardrums, indistinguishable from Morse code tapping on a copper plate. Yes, when the Guardian has gone mad, they're found singing love songs to tanks, draping staircases and flags, breaking car windows to decorate their faces with the glass. When the Guardian goes mad, they're captured pushing a pickaxe into an LED screen and detained for threatening to throw snakes at gas station attendants. When the Guardian goes mad, people suddenly remember to turn on AM radio and patiently follow guidelines before filing a full report. Though there are always doubters and passers-by who start conspiracies, the usual being that this was a planned distraction. And then they wrap their cell phones in tinfoil and evade the FBI by going and sitting in the fucking day room. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll arrive at every awards ceremony with a mirror in hand and a ribbon under their chin and make demands to review the voting process when they don't win. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll rue the day they lost control of their relationships, spending weeks hiring staff to bury paperwork they'll insist doesn't exist. If the Guardian goes mad, all their meals shall consist of orange peels pulled from chain-link fences and burned coffee flavored with molded peach preserves, though there are always doubters ready to offer an opinion of unverifiable proof summarizing that death and maps are the only real measures of impact, and there are fucking people out there that are that goddamn deranged. If the Guardian cracks up, they'll spend bleak days envisioning trees committing suicide, grandmothers doing crystal meth for the first time, and gnats smeared into toothpaste. If the Guardian cracks up, 7 strangers stuck in a bank will claw at each other to seek cold air in the vault and wait for their families and firemen to arrive and dig them out. If the Guardian cracks up, pirates will walk their own planks and devour themselves once they hit water, thrashing back at their gnashing teeth, running the seas red until hunter and prey are finally one. Ignorance, arrogance. The pest control man said unto me, when I was in Japan, I bought cherry bread in a can. I opened it with a knife and slid off the wrap, but the air bubbles stayed floating in my mouth, and I rolled them around until I returned back to the West. Bliss, tolerance, the pest control man said unto me, sometimes my apartment building turns into a vending machine and I get deposited out into the evening to provide goods and services for lucky couples with good taste and a few wandering dollars to rub together. Oh, I know, man. I know. It's called Diamond Mine. Water rushing so fast it looks like knotted wood, its sound a ceaseless perpetual crash in static blue and black. Droplets burst over the plank sides and dot the dirt or land on kicked out bricks, and from the ravine's opposite angle the water seems to glide clockwise, rolling ever nearer toward the gears. And into the factory, where 7 years previous the core of the industry sunk unexpectedly early, and like a defense attorney, the treasurer ruled the materials used were archaic and their methods unrealistic. And as demand seized up, the foremen and night shift technicians acidly joked they were laboring within the Great Repression. For ages it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured by a flood started from the diamond mine. We know it's either tacitly implied or we're told outright, you can't be seen like that, you need lights. Where money is exchanged and you're finally responsible and realistic, you can't be seen like that, you need lights. Know the value of being articulate and reconsider your obscure subject. You need to stay in the lines. You need to revise. Realize the need to eliminate images that would be unwise to present or ideas you'd be unable to defend. Why persist if honest people cannot implicitly understand? You can't be seen like that. You need lights. For years, it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured from a flood started in the diamond mine. Back in the head office, on the desk next to the coffee, scissors, and gold pen set was a black leather envelope and that morning's newspaper, whose subheadline read Forgetfulness, and detailed a local photographer who makes elaborate, enormous, near-twin gelatin prints of events, one real, one staged, and described the effect as painting over paintings. When asked by the reporter who will get this, the photographer remarked, anyone who misses being pure, or ever imagined placing one point in time over another, anyone who pictures the shape of ideas and not the shape of their mind, anyone who sees a crowd and tries to find the people in disguise. Later, the paper lay open to the crossword puzzle, and among answers written in indeterminate script were asides like, does purpose follow appearance? Where's this from? Reasons better than because, and finally, determining what to become. It's called They Never Felt Sorrow. Mind recover, recourse, cavern, colic, garlic, wrapped in rape, duck, blood, punching, wino, porno, spinning, span, spew, lacerating, stomach bleeding, howling, dirge, summer camp, bitch, boy, never ending, never mind, I'm just your soul, ass preaching, psycho dancers, wildly flashing life dance, owl slop, teasing, jeering, genocide, clown of fools, crucifixion, demigod, good morning, phallic moon, looking, lurking, thought-stealing, marquee, peace lame, understanding, underhanding, fetal gene, spleen spill, lips smart, claustrophobic exaltation, spreading love. Semi-happy, sleep feather, grind your sand. Carpetbagger through the heart, silver bullet for all to see. Street scene, blue jean, bow tie, syrup cracker kicking speed. Blair monkey, overwhelming, coffee lush, dead unharmed. Roast teeth, parking lane, culture store, house shock. Sleepy diction, slicking rabbi, madly turned, tired heart. Syncopation, simulation, belt sanding, reaping now. Obese iron stroll, lost forever, pointing blank. Flashing flasher, abstractly red writ tax void. Corrosion slicing, tired brain cell, paranoid lumped self. And I will tell the story of that one. Well, part of the story of that one. But there are several stories to that one, but this one I've said before. I was in a writing class when I wrote that. I would have written that when I was 17. So yeah, I wrote that as a 17-year-old, and we had a substitute. I was in a writing class. It was over the summer, and we had a substitute teacher who was this like intense, older hippie guy, gray beard, or the beard with like the flecks of gray, and the tie-dye T-shirt, but joyless and serious, tie-dye T-shirt, clown outfit, but very serious. And he was Jewish apparently, and I read the piece, and he was like, oh, and he's like, can I see that? And he fucking took up like however long, I don't know, 10 minutes of class time or something, trying to figure out what I meant by slicking rabbi, and he was convinced that there was some sort of anti-Semitism in there. But he couldn't find it, and he couldn't figure it out. And needless to say, there is none. But I just kept sitting there thinking, yeah, you can keep on looking. You'll never find it. Because that, it's not there to be found, sir. It's called Renaissance. Now more than ever. Celebrate the Silver Age, the wonderful dawn, the dust from space, the transparent page, the grasp of discipline, possibilities unbound by definition, the reach of purposeful disassociation. The Silver Age, the cyclical start, the anti-doom, antidote to negation and cynicism cloaked as intelligence and laziness stealing from experience. The Silver Age, wisdom without citing a reference, ideation from the singular source, the interior physics married to open perception, divorced from pre-existing belief systems. Celebrate the Silver Age, the transfiguration of time, made clear in the present, the gift of interdependent contexts in the spirit of enthusiastic creation, leaning on the curve and leaving a set of fingerprints superimposed, adding another angle to the environment. Isn't that the whole fucking point? I debated doing this one this week, but I decided to go forward with it. Because I've read it a lot, and I love it. And, there's just time to... That sentence didn't really go anywhere. It's called Flowers at the Foot of the Cave. Swinging light bulb above a cracked basement window, a painting depicting the creation of creation, and a makeshift bed. I made up a new name for you that I'll only keep in my head. My head. Look at the jewel resting in the bottom of the wooden cup, or the stack of handwritten sheets explaining the steps of the ritual in rich, deep red, and the names of everyone there exist in my head. Charcoal renderings of saints ripped from a magazine and pinned to the door, dented bits of metal shaped to make a mosaic and pushed into the floor. Quarter-inch thick spray-painted silver ribbons looped like ringlets in the air, and the floating stray white veins from a feather landing on your hair. Here I sit half childish, with freshly washed clothes strewn over the chair. A tray with orange peels, melon rinds, and empty glasses rests balanced on the table's edge, while I'm reading a map leading to a room more colorful than the womb, where I can overhear things other than gurgling and organs rushing. But still, this will always be in its infancy, because love is where Genesis greets infinity, And for proof, you can look in my eyes, even though I won't confirm or deny how much of this is true. But I trust that will get worked out by you. It's called Virgin Prairie. Laying straight and still, staring down at rivulets filled with flattened cicada shells. Waiting at dusk, watching people across the field try and weave a blanket from ashes, matted branches, and damp grass. But I barely care. I am distracted by voices echoing over the horizon. Voices I listened so hard to. One sounded like a melting telephone, one sang like typewriter keys, another rang like a confused bluebird and is since locked in my memory. I tried to find where on the prairie I could sleep. At daybreak I was woken up by voices that waved in the air like film projected on fog, voices that hovered like an underexposure on a robin's wing. I searched my thoughts, hoping to realize which voices I took for granted, the ones that only appear every other year. I got lazy and lost intervals of hours staring at the sun circling in the sky. I got confused and gave incorrect directions to a couple of asking backpackers. I got angry about heredity and when carelessness intertwines with chronology. I could not control my shaking limbs or the cold sweat on my forehead. I needed to tend to my health. I needed to walk steadily without help. I needed to make a fire and learn to stop time. I needed to be the watch one has to wind. It's called The New Nature. How are we doing out there? Hey, how you doing, Van? God bless you. It's called The New Nature. We know we've seen so much more water falling from the sky, making miniature lakes out of puddles and forming little rivers and gutters. New homes being built where the mudslides ran down the hills, quenching the forest fires. So many new islands and bays for animals to gather together, standing on one foot. New games being played as new trees emerge in marshes and parks form over landing strips. We know what we think about it. Never desecrate the body, never poison the water supply. Never bathe in insecticide. See and think. Never barter for bacteria. Never throw poison down the well. Never desecrate the body. In a glass sink, the water can start to build its own walls and divide its own chromosomes. In a glass shower, the nozzle calcifies the water and organizes the deposits into clear lines. On a glass floor, spilled water pulls away from itself, towards the corners, towards the door. On a glass ceiling, the water can reform into pointless droplet paintings. We know what we see and what we think. It's called Party of Colors. Her eyes open while she pretends she can feel her fontanelle. She thought she must be a post-person or her cousin. She read the news, fear of law and God and man in an infinite dynamic loop. She was one image at a time, so she thought she was a person, right? She wrote some news. Platitudes aren't solutions and fill space between waves. Now I'm new, but she also knew that the feeling of being new was something she could always circle back around to. Called Tasteless, Colorless. I haven't done this one in a long time. Viscous liquids slowly spread across the floor covered with a shadow. Marilla stands with forced coughed laughter, a few phrases, hoping her host will believe this is a natural interaction. She sees two children in the kitchen sitting with folded hands and strangers' faces staring through the window at them. The host had been holding a one-sided conversation about if atoms turn to ice or go dry when they stop vibrating, and then began conjecturing about what people he'd left behind and informally ended with the enigmatic, "I want to drain your glass eye." Into the ocean, Morella stands naked before the mirror, remembering her husband's tattoo, thinking she should not succumb to low desires. She remains unsure about the connection between newborn and mother, nervous that the baby doesn't reach out for love, but out of instinct for its own interests. When she was pregnant, she was never told she had a glow. She figured her purity would show in her unmarked face of snow, but that was years ago. Morella knows that ghosts are laughing at her. When she talks to her boss, when she steps in the shower, Morella knows the ghosts keep her depraved, when they take off her clothes, when they change her name. But the reality is far more plain. The only one watching her is a raw nerve who pays attention after he's completed his redactions and thinks he's the last rational man in any room. It stands in my stairwell. It asks me to display concern. It analyzes my impulses. It blends back into paintings. It asks me what I'd do if I never get caught. It asks how much I'd pay for the chance. It writes down my final thoughts at night. It convinces me to miss my flight. It makes it seem impossible to be love-intoxicated when you abstain from all vice. Waking from recurring dreams to discover none of the 4 previous visitations ever happened. Trying and failing to remember the details and why they seemed so real, writing prayers of protection and taping them to the walls, swearing at myself for not having read what I should. The host appears wearing spotless black cashmere, fingernails neatly manicured, 2 inches long. The host fills the sink with boiling water, which he watches turn gray when he pokes in a finger. I'm afraid of spring and what it means. It's safe to stay enclosed in winter. Remaining quiet with migraines, willing away regression, casting off possession. I need evidence that this will work, a sign for the effort. Do you think you are God's camera? I need evidence that this will work, a sign of what this is worth. Do you think you are God's camera? I don't need to create another myth. I don't need to be dependent. Do you think you are God's camera? With that in mind, Allison, where the blue sea and icebergs are. She's ice cream and she's there down the hall. She uses words like everything and all. I can hear her, but I can't make out her features. I know she spends her weekends in a cement cinema making notes with the girl next to her, trying to see what she wrote. Allison wonders why the guy in the elevator keeps glancing at her and why the weather keeps jumping between rain and sun every 30 minutes. She keeps saying, "Quit asking me questions. I'm innocent." As people assume she's joking, Allison wonders, what are the windows thinking on a day where there's a white line down the center of the sky? Her mind cuts back to the guy on the elevator with a quick, I look at me, you look at you, we look at each other, we are equals. Allison wonders if she can keep hiding while knowing they're following me. Allison writes, what started as hopes are now observations, mostly about nature, and being young stops being fascinating once it's done. Being young stops being fascinating once it is done. Allison looks at her bowl of spinach and her eyes focus down on the details of one leaf, and she quietly speaks. An atheist sees this and can only think of the mud it grows from. Allison writes, we extend grace out of our own sense of grace, and smiles because she's not sure if that's something of her own or something she's half remembering from 2 or 3 incarnations ago. Allison considers why her back and hands are so slippery when she's invisible, and tells her sister, my tongue is a graffiti sponge. I wonder if I'll have to make love in front of a judge. Allison considers that she's a character who looks and acts just like her, then draws a bath with the lights off. Allison invites her guests to walk barefoot, while cherries and red confetti float out of her phone. Allison considers emptying cash registers if the security cameras lose power. But what she mostly wants are completely natural segues with no artificial blends. So with that, make thoughts any more nerve-blaming when all meet with you at your beginnings, but make allowances for their worn-out tools, and make dreams a trap for fools after they are gone. We're going to try something we haven't tried before. See how this goes. It's called Oliver Cromwell's Collage. 0 comes before the 1. The river will run, the birds will fly, the earth will turn, the sun will rise. Look at the fields, the rivers and skies. Day will follow night, spring then summer. The streets will be swept. We will work tomorrow. In the garden, in the building, Your voice was not made for stealing. Stuck, still fighting the same battles, the rage, exasperation, recurring pain. But it works both ways. Part of the reason the problems stay the same is the way the problems are constantly pointed at with the same approach and questions constantly being raised, constantly being broken down to a children's song to see who's in or out, right or wrong. The daily reaffirmation is an equal factor in the stagnation. Zero comes before the one, and here is half. Social programming, behavior, reinforcement, negation, intuition, psychic projection, Zen transference, astrophysics, instinct, want and need, obsession, control, ambivalence, telepathy, preordained structural dynamics, psychological parameters, perception awareness of the individual, axiomatic intention of individual, strength and force of will, electromagnetic wave patterns, soul power, language, little more than an errand boy who carries a lantern across a bridge. All the dinosaurs drank from the same place, same bacteria, same reaction to change. No retro, no retro. Fuck 1941, fuck 1977, fuck 1991, fuck 2008. No retro. No more retro, no more burlesque, no more detractors, no more marketing, unanimity, no more nothing, no more slavery, no more sterility, fascism, frauds, mania, armies, factions, negation, no more lameness, no more cowards, no more manifestos. The mosquito contemplates the lake, since it seems its view is infinite and thus too vast to be narrowed down by logic. The mosquito feels panic until it switches perspective, and the lake then becomes something else again, a mirror by which the mosquito can contemplate itself. The mosquito sucking on the back of the dinosaur, its source of nutrition, its home. The dinosaur lumbers forward, stuck in a thought, only able to do what it was taught. The mosquito becomes bored by its host. The dinosaur is left only with a swollen sore. The insect on the floor ran beneath my hovering hand. Under a door, the insect then stopped. Its voyage was complete. The insect saw itself as a hero at peace, certain that my shadow would soon recede. The insect on the floor, crawling across the men's room at the rest stop, had a real shiny shell. Knelt down next to it, got a look up close. There was a fucking camera on its back. Started seeing my reflection in every surface. And though it was a beautiful scene, I immediately missed strip malls, parked cars, rushing water, Walgreens, and office blocks next to trees. I skipped sideways out the exit, and I took a deep breath. We're doing a longer set apparently tonight, which is, it's how it is. It's called Fear. Well, I was thinking I was the last person left alive. I was at the bottom of the shower, peeling off my skin. I was the only person seeing stars get snuffed out in the night, and I felt trapped because my voice was no longer free. And maybe there is no such thing as death, and maybe there is something I haven't seen yet. Maybe I believe in faith in the role I play. Maybe there is no such thing as death. Well, there was an echo all around me, drawing me out, and I felt like I was choking when I saw everything hit the ground. I need one more chance and a brand new favor, and I swear I won't end up like this again. And maybe there is no such thing as death, and thinking there is just a desperate breath. Maybe there is no such thing as death. Maybe I was terrified of being alone, and maybe those layers were there to protect me from the cold, but I'd be lying if I said I really know. Maybe there is no such thing as death. And maybe faith is real, and faith is a fact. Maybe there is no such thing as death. This is called Ruth Stearns. You are beautiful, and I'm trying to be more like you. Even though I was only 7 years old then, you're the only person who never censored me or told me to shut up. I watched you shrink 1.5 feet from cancer and lose all your hair, but I'll never think of you as a victim or powerless. I'll always think of you as regal, graceful, and intelligent. It's called Shedding Skins. Bloody neuter on the ringworm dancing with a spectral beauty that isolates feeling flags and flowers from their glorious panderings, only to find out they need no bounds, to pillage the free flow love mine boiling on the calluses of the corneas. But you, yes you, know him actually on the second time around. Forever never considered why you laugh or what you grunt behind, and nothing is, alas, everything, has been unrecovered by the sallow aristocracy implosion. In order, when the little girls encased in gender sunshine pulled down the dawn and shriek merrily of the conquest of fantasy facts, that in which proven by the powers that appear in by, how, where, or because the lightning rays that is the steel girder stapled to the collective loin nicked off its kerosene shell until the rural timeshare spat mucus from the other depths of their backwoods soul scenery and trounced upon radiators slashing sharply in the wind in neatly layered shark-skin sweater investments, droning to the click drum madness that haunts the delights of the cupids and raises their swords to obscene fool Nancy's, now that branching to the stratosphere came nearer and nearer to their choice flight of destination, gesticulatingly appointed by the elder Olympus, the no man hath done tread upon, neither conquering nor salivating, to the twisted, pipeling, perpetuating, ghostly consequence, leading in to the crescendo that yearns to flee away, perhaps to the gutter, perhaps to the perforation, perhaps to the hostages caged in the womb, 36 inches by the only thoughts you can't repress, manifesting to suggest that by life and honor the first depths came forth united, to loyalty neither comprehend, instead shaping the wing, taught so flagrantly as to regard its own high priest as the heightened, unique, daft eccentricity. Oh man, she who curses doth not will the plenitude into sleeping, but only scraping stones from its fingerprints, tangled lewdly and in connection and gratification with a floundering spider's web. It's called Pearls. There'd been a robbery in her apartment. The dentist dabbed at the blood dripping off his drill and said, "That was a lot more than I expected." They had hit Carrie's place while she slept. The cops spent the early hours asking her questions, like did she have any enemies, perhaps somebody in her family. They told her to screen her calls, implored her to invest in some security. Ultimately, the only items of value taken were a few pieces of jewelry. Bankers' boxes were duct taped shut and loaded in the truck, their contents filled with scrap, to go and get melted down by guys who didn't care whether it came from an abandoned ironworks or was brass stolen from a Catholic school. Gregory never thought it would come to this. The ranch was facing foreclosure. He'd gotten a wedge of glass jammed into his hand, and his girlfriend had spent $25 she didn't have on an ugly antique horseshoe she hung upside down in the doorway. "I should have known when we were standing at your mother's grave that you wouldn't speak any longer. I should have known when we were standing at your mother's grave, walled in a cold fog." Gregory looked down at the 4 inches of stained skin on his left forearm and thought what that symbol meant to him when he was 18, and then how gutted he felt when he noticed the girl in the bank had the same thing on her ankle. While the detective tried to focus on the negatives from the crime scene, intently scanning for details he might otherwise miss, but he was distractedly irritated by the accidental double exposures and dark splotches of silver salts on his fingertips. "I used to walk much quicker and look over my shoulder. Now I no longer worry. I used to walk much quicker, but now I've been absolved of responsibility." It was a beautiful storm last night that disrupted the 90-degree heat and blocked out the 6 p.m. sun, the smell of mud running over the fresh blacktop, the icy rain that came like the crest of a wave, cutting short the humidity, my clothes and hair getting drenched, the holes in the soles of my shoes letting the water soak my feet as I walked in circles across the nearly empty lot. This is Earl wrote this for Tobi. Wrap my hair in a shawl, sitting deep in fall. My hands are cold, and my knuckles look old, just like yours. YMCA and Beautiful Day Records, walking through Lyons, walking through Brookfield, on our way to the music loft, my creaking guitar case, lots of snow. Silent, fierce, and you were fully formed, the wisest, without makeup, without intimidation, scratching carbon paper, telegraphing to the park. The swings are ours. Lots of rain. Dyeing your hair black lipstick again. You wrote and I read every word and it all made sense. Still does. My fingers got dark from the ink. Vegan Rice Krispie treats I'd never eat. And between afternoon and evening, it got very solemn. And we love ridiculing it. The crane lamp over my bed, when the depression would end, going to sleep excited for the next day, completely calm, knowing we were special. Waiting for a ride. We evaporate, we exaggerate. They'll really never understand. They didn't even like our band. Amen to that. It's called Jade. Winter went without finale, one brain with seagull emeralds and a chop of jade thicker than my wrist. Glancing became the transmission, like a doorbell whistling in a veterans parade. So behind the minute hand extends more than obligation and demands more than devotion. Passion is 10,000 tiny cuts, so untraceable they dye emotions without ever gracing the surface. Lightning travel celebrations and standing full face toward the stark light and thin wire sword play. Who's been saying in this bed? No one without articulation, tempo, and psychic extrapolative hysterics. At the break, I am pacing, ignorant to stillness, shattering skins, pushing flagpoles out of the fields, locking engines to mortar, and blushing with inevitable glory leave. Excuse me, Jesus Christ. This is called the tide. Swimming through the rising tide. Eyes, 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 eyes. Yes, Eve, on the limestone madrigal entrance. The wind stormed around the asthma liquids and flying cost of yen. The fur was melting in an envelope, lime green irises bobbing in the water, trying to pry through the quarantine line. Topics of conversation overheard. Rusting park, yellow chutes, and chipped lacquer. Birds landing on Mount Fuji. A dulcimer was plucked, floodneck papers rising and collected. Outside, crisp rings, a flickering crossing change. Numbers assigned in a fetal hotel. Slow motion timed to diagonal lights and backward directionals. Ceremonial silver displayed, cold crux of current torn by rain and smog-filling ditches. Spear thrown into the branch, limestone posts built on the marsh. Letters sent with smeared ink, walking through masks photographs. The motorcade wasn't noticed. Flipped cigarette, punctured wrist. The tide stretched over itself. Oh, wow. It's always funny to me when the videos thing cuts out. It's an odd phenomenon. All right, we will do two more. We'll wrap this up. This is an old one. It's called, very old. It's called Celestial Bliss. Hey, man, let's go to the Super K. Strip mall. Well, fucking hell. Let's start that again. Hey man, let's go to the Super K, he says. Suburbia's strip malled frontier is here. White trash unite, Newt Gingrich stay clear. Open 24/7, it's a stoner's heaven, and the parking lot is extra large. Pack up the kids, get in the van, we're going down to the Super K. Everything we want, it's our new life, more than KFC and more than Christ. Velcro shoes, vending machines, and dead tattoos. Produce hair dryers and Goodyear tires. The aisles sure look neat, and the milk costs 39 cents less. 32 ounces of Snapple magic, stocking caps and 40s for the gangstas. And thank God for Little Caesars and the Zit Gorge teen ringing up your socks. An arcade for the kids, and they just installed a video rental. We'll never leave. It's our utopia, because it can't possibly get better than this. Looking for America? Well, here it is. It's the closest thing to culture we'll ever see. We spend so much of our time being slaves, and the rest is at the Super K. Pack up your kids, get in the van, we're going down to the Super K. Everything we want, it's our new life, more than KFC and more than Christ. All right. And now we will end as we always end. Well, not always, but you get the idea. Thank you for hanging in there on this verbose night. God bless. And this is citizenship. You know what this is all about. I don't have to spell these things out for you. And, believe it. Oh my. All right. No. There we go. All right. It's called citizenship. There we go. Well, it's easy for your mom to spend Friday night trying to lecture the TV while half asleep, continuously saying, let it all breathe. But she's not the one out there trying to brave the wind, walking across that wing with just a 4-foot stick of balsa wood to help keep her balance. The Tsar's personal physician put the head of surgery in bed, called the staff around, and explained this could be the end, but he's not really certain because he's been too depressed at the prospect. At least that's what you thought, he said. But you were quite distracted by the kissing couple on the observation deck. And you got yelled at for sleeping during a meeting by the head of marketing, but you didn't feel any guilt as you explained that you'd been sin-free since the night before, and the head of marketing agreed and closed the door to talk about some opportunities for advancement. You know what that means. He rubbed your shoulders and fucking you got right up close next to you, real, like fucking Ghislaine. And the private's still cannot figure out how to break ranks, or how to help your mom fill out a loan application, or get a new sticker for her license plates, and the two of you prepare for their weekend leave by getting hair extension and hitchhiking back to the hospital. You've been reading diaries, you've been reading autobiographies, you've been writing long treatises out on graph paper, you've been condescending to your enemies, you've been giving easy answers that argue there are no easy answers, you've been running forensics on untabulated statistics, you've been staring at a man buzzsawing down a tree thinking anyone but me, you've been miming in a marching band, not playing a single note all season, you've been looking at the apple in your hand, hoping to know how you'll find another, and you've stolen mail from your mother. Dun dun dun. You've been looking at a fence thinking enough of this. You've been back to the hospital staying after hours in the maternity ward laying newly minted silver rectangles on newborns' chests. You've been counseling dry drunks you're near to sovereignty and whoever picks apples for free. You've been painting large unfinished arcs on your foyer walls while in expensive new clothes. You've been near to sovereignty and whoever spreads apple seeds for free. You've been barefoot while feeding skunks. You've been seeing your reflection in cardboard, which is very hard to do. Let it all, according to the experts, let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across that wing, watching flotsam from Beechcraft Model 18s rotate overhead, amazed how machinery so heavy can defy gravity. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching jettison pollution floating from the Indian Ocean in utter disbelief how the laws of nature can be defied so carelessly. You are a wing walker, closer to sovereignty and closer to picking apples for free, closer to crashing the fence, closer to opening books. You're a wing walker, trying to make a future full of stars, wishing you weren't so far. You are a wing walker, closer to sovereignty, closer to spreading apple seeds for free, closer to swimming naked, closer to learning languages. You are a wing walker, trying to make a future full of stars, wishing you weren't feeling so far. But they found me, realistically resembling myself and fully alive in a different year. Questions were drawn to determine how I appeared there. I explained I went to sleep because I couldn't function being constantly awake. Theta waves turning back on themselves, and spindle waves with no chance to crest, and slow waves never even coming close to arriving. A wing walker craves immunity to maintain sovereignty, feeds on concentration to maintain sovereignty, brushes memories to maintain sovereignty, and theta waves are just the start. Spindle waves stand you straight up. Slow waves safely deposit you back on the shore. A wing walker needs clear vision and to be free of poison. You have to know where to turn on the lights before you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. And that, folks, wraps up another exciting edition of the Quarantine Stream. We hope that you've enjoyed it. I am Richard Millett. Go to fluxlifeinc.com, cheap plug, for all of my books and films. And have a wonderful, wonderful week. And as always, stay safe, especially now. Stay smart, and stay free, because you already are. And let us hear the beautiful Quarantine Stream, shall we? Good night, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there. Oh, we're not done yet. Oh, we're not done yet. That's right. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Because look who wants to say hello. Look who wants to wave goodbye. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. Yeah, I know. Goodbye. I'm wrapping it up, I promise.